welcome to the next edition of 300 Seconds from Cannes, where today we are luckily on a yacht, unsurprisingly, in Cannes. And I'm joined by one of my favourite people, Joanne Robertson, who is now the President of Europe and Transatlantic Growth for Bully Pulpit International.
I mean, that's a mouthful.
That took me a lot to remember.
I'm
Welcome,
proud of you.
and lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too.
How are you?
I'm great.
Yeah?
Yeah, like I'm 36 hours into Cannes. It's like, yeah, I've been coming here for such a long time. It comes around quicker every year, but I'm really enjoying it. Yeah,
A bit of a different time this year than previous.
it feels totally different for me because at least the last 5 years, I was on the jury, I was president of the jury, then I was like Young Lions jury in Omnicom holding company, all the demands of that. This feels more a slower pace for me this year,
Right. Yeah.
but with a much more intentional agenda. So like the way I'm spending my time feels way more valuable.
Right. So it feels like you have a bit more purpose here this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. So tell us about your new role, the growth element of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a whole new world to quote the Little Mermaid. Because for me, like I've spent 3 years in the holding companies.
Yep.
With all the infrastructure and bureaucracy that comes with that. And now I'm 3 months into an independent where like I don't have to ask anyone permission to do anything, which for someone like me is liberating.
Yes. Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a couple of times where I'm like, and then who's going to do that? And then I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, it's me. Like, it's me now because there's not the same, kind of infrastructure that I was used to. And I am like so inspired and motivated by that because I'm back in the work, which, as you know, for me is the thing that gets me up in the morning. And it's a really new challenge because Bully Pulpit International in the US is so established and well known, right? And people come to them every day to solve their most complex challenges. Whereas in Europe, we're unknown.
Right.
And we've acquired 4 really incredible firms, but very distinct in what they offer in their markets. And so a big job for me is it's like what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? So I've got to win new briefs and new clients to fuel the growth at the same time as building infrastructure, culture and reputation that it starts to become like people come to us.
Yeah. So given that you are relatively unknown in UK and Europe, how important do you think it's going to be for you to help build a distinct proposition of who the agency is?
It's probably the most important job.
Yeah. And
I think when they were looking for someone to lead this expansion into Europe and then beyond, we've got ambitions in Asia and all sorts. Like they wanted someone who was an established personality.
Yeah. Because
my kind of brand presence and my extroversion and need to keep communicating to the world, very self-aware, kind of helps them with establishing the BPI brand. But at the end of the day, you know this about me, we worked together for a while, I can't sell something that's not true.
Yeah.
Because for me, integrity is everything. And so there are so many brands and clients who've worked with me for 20 odd years, for 15 years, for 10 years, that I'm only going to convince them to come here when I know what I can deliver is best in class. And so that's an interesting dynamic. And there are a few that that's already happening. And I am really confident that what we deliver will be better than they've ever had before. And there's others where I'm not even approaching them yet because I'm like, I can't deliver on what I think you want yet. And so building that's really important. I think the other thing for me that's why did I take this job? An unknown company in this region, because what I see what they've built in the US, whilst we're not going to completely mirror that in Europe, I'm inspired by it. And one of the things I've been learning, I like to learn. I haven't learned for a long time, but I'm these 3 months, it's like a steep learning curve. In the US, we're this huge advertiser. So we do a lot of political and corporate advertising. And that's something that's not normal in Europe. But we've done our first sort of baby steps over the last few months into that. And I think for us at BPI, that's going to be a huge differentiator in a time when when it comes to the big political issues, the big corporate issues, earned isn't enough. So I'm a true believer earned at the core, but earned at the core isn't enough. So how are we making sure that political stakeholders and corporate stakeholders are also getting that message above the line? And that's quite unique to BPI.
Yeah. So the last time I saw you was interestingly in Cannes this time last year. We weren't on a yacht.
Well, you've upped your game.
I've upped my game. So yes, absolutely. I can feel the energy and the excitement from you. I did the same. 25 years in holdcos, and you come out and you realise there's this other world out there, which, as you say, is flatter decision structures. It's fast. It's dynamic. It's different. I'm not saying one's better than the other.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I can see the energy and the enthusiasm that's come to you.
I think, like, look, I've said the same since I left. I spent more than 20 years in holding companies, and I'm not the sort of person that stays somewhere where I'm miserable. Like 90% of that time,
yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah.
And I was learning, I was growing, I was thriving. But fundamentally what's happened is the world has changed, and I don't believe the holdcos have understood what that change is. I think they are trying to adapt to it, but not necessarily in the right way. And as I've come into an independent, whole new world and all that, like, for me, the fact that BPI is a great example. It was founded as a digital. So Andrew Bleeker, the founder, came out of Obama's 2008 campaign.
Okay.
He was one of the digital directors. So that kind of modern, back in 2008 campaigning was at the core. And he's built the agency in that modern era, right? And then he's built on it and he's added to it. And so, we have a whole host of engineers when it comes to building our technological infrastructure. But nothing is more important than the people.
Yeah.
And so when you look at like how BPI are continuing to hire new people, invest in current talent, and really like at the heart of our offer, yes, it's that we've got this amazing technology that fuels us, but nothing beats the people. And I think that's what the holdcos have forgotten. And if you've got a whole bunch of people who are disengaged because they're disempowered, it doesn't lead to great work.
No, absolutely. I affectionately refer to the holdcos like aircraft carriers. They take about 5 miles to turn around in a circle. They're formidable and they're big.
They play a role.
Yeah, absolutely. So, given your new role, fairly unknown agency, probably quite, by the sounds of it, a young group of people. What do you think your 3 biggest things you want to deliver this year are?
Consistency of message.
Yeah.
So in this region in particular, because as I say, we've acquired best-in-class agencies in different disciplines. And as we move into our, like, I keep describing it to everyone internally is there's where you've been, which is formidable. Like what they've delivered as founders of their agencies and then selling to BPI is formidable.
Yeah.
We're now kind of in that like messy middle where like I've never been a founder, but I'm like really relating to these founders who like are struggling to let go of their baby. Number 2 is relationships, right? Like me, my senior team, like going out and looking like clients in the eye and saying, we're the future. We're what's going to deliver the real impact and change that you've been looking for that you just kind of can't quite find. So I'm spending a lot of my time doing that. And then the third is innovation, right? Because whilst I think that we are really cutting edge in many places, like you're only cutting edge as of an hour ago, and the world is moving that fast. And so, one of the first hires I made was a guy called Giuseppe Polomino, who is a data analyst, AI, expert, both thinker and doer, to help us keep like what we're doing now is like best in class, but what is tomorrow, what is next week, what is next month, what is next year? Because I think if you rest on your laurels, you get left behind. So it's like there's 3 trains on the track at the same time
as you're building
and
the track.
They're probably going to keep crossing each other, and we'll make sure that none of them crash. But and that's what makes it exciting. Like it's
you're
hard
truly
work.
Building. You're not running something. You're building something.
Exactly. It's a whole different ball game of like you step into like, and I've said this my whole career. Like when I became an MD at Weber, it was already an established brand, and it was similar when I went to Ketchum, but they didn't have what I did, which was the corporate and PA bit. So I had to build that, but in a very safe, infrastructure. And then I spent then another 10 years transforming Ketchum's reputation. that's such a transforming a reputation that's established, 100-year-old brand like Ketchum and incredible,
Yeah.
compared to a brand that's 16 years old and completely unknown in Europe. Like, it's a different set of skills, and like I'm learning every single day. Like, I'm learning what it is to be an independent. I'm learning what it is. We've got private equity backing. That's a whole new world for me.
Yeah.
We did our first acquisition since I joined in Germany. Like, that was a whole, like, so for me,
Every day's a learning day.
every day is a day where I'm like, crikey, there's so much more I've got to learn and do and, you know,
Sounds
embrace.
amazing. You mentioned AI. Giuseppe is your new hire. What role do you think AI is going to play for you guys in just the next 12 months?
Oh, it's such a great question, because if I'm really honest, I think there's way too much hype on how good AI is, right? So, yep, you can get to a first draft of anything, you know, 100 times faster than you did before. But I think the quality is still questionable. I was having this conversation this morning. You know, a client of mine whose son is an absolute genius, you know, top of his class, Ivy League, now working in a very, very established US institution. And he said, he called his dad and he was literally like, I think I'm becoming more stupid by the day, because they've got AI embedded in the workflow. So the expectation is they can do 50% more. So he's having to rely on it. And he's like, 12 months ago, I could have answered this myself.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of like, hold on a minute. And I think that's the challenge, right? Is AI is built to give you the medium, the absolute vanilla kind of center of everything. And too many humans are content with that. So they'll just take it and that's it. That's, you know, and then we dumb down. So for me, it's about asking the right questions of our people, pushing them to push AI further, faster, like be more intellectually curious about, is this good enough? Is it pushing boundaries far enough? Because I think if we become entirely reliant on AI, like the work is just going to be so mediocre.
Yeah, we use it every day, and I would say most of its answers are quite anodyne. And yes, it will get you to a 5 out of 10 relatively quickly. But as you say, the problem is our critical thinking skills are being reduced because we're relying on it to do it. It serves something up, and you have to read it and decipher it, and it's reducing our ability to look at things whether they're better or worse. If you have a conversation with clients, and you might talk about your AI capabilities, it seems it can go two ways. The client either wants the same quality for less money,
yes,
or the more inspired clients say, I'll pay the same amount, but I want better output. Do you see, is there a trend you're seeing clients going one way or the other, or is it just dependent on the client?
Do you know, just before I left Omnicom, I was definitely seeing the former more, which was like, well, like, you know, we were having big global RFPs where there was side by sides, like how much did this cost, and now how much does it cost with AI? And the absolute explicit expectation was it will be cheaper, right?
Yeah.
I'm not seeing that at BPI. What I'm seeing at BPI is a curiosity from clients as to how, and look, we've got a lot of big tech clients as well, so they're very well versed in, you know, this
what it
world, what it can and can't do. But there's a curiosity about how this will elevate the outcomes. And so, and again, we've never quite, in the world of kind of earned at the core, we've never quite figured out how to prove impact. And there's a bit of me that's like, we should just get okay with that, because the whole point of it is that you can't prove it, because it's like, it isn't a 1 + 1 = 2. It's a 1 + 1 when you get it right equals 50.
Yes.
And so getting comfortable and knowing, and again, trusting, we know, clients know when something's been successful, because you see it and you feel it in the kind of bowels of
groundswell.
You just feel it, you know it. And yes, you might see it in sales 6 months later, or you might, you know, there might be then little clues and little things that you can track. But I think AI, I mean, I don't know yet, right? I'm hoping AI can help us be a bit more precise, but not so precise that you take out that like magic of what earned really does.
So 18 months ago when we started 300, we ended up with a mascot. I don't know how. There's a long story. It's a goat with wings.
Oh,
So,
cute.
so whenever, and it's standing on a mountainside.
Beautiful.
So, whenever we interview people, we like to ask them who has been your goat in your career. Maybe those one or two people that have helped you become the person you are, that's helped you shape your career and maybe your opinions about the industry.
But it's such an easy question. I was expecting this to be such a hard question. It's such an easy like answer for me. The first person who really defined my career is a man called Michael Prescott. He was a political editor of the Sunday Times during the late 90s, early 2000s. And then when I joined Weber Shandwick as a junior, he was my MD. And he believed in me from the minute, like, one, to try and get me in the organization, and from the minute I walked through the door. And he, from like me being 23, sat in a British Nuclear Fuels boardroom where he was asking me to contribute to the discussion in front of the Secretary of State for Trade and Industry,
Wow.
the CEO, the chair. Like, he never once treated me like less than or as a child or
No.
like, he just expected me to rise to the occasion. And as a result, I always did. Like whatever he asked of me, I was
You were
like,
there 100%.
I would give you it. And like, he is still, I always, like, he doesn't like this because he's a young man, but I always refer to him as my second father. Like,
Right.
you know, I went to his second wedding, and you know, I consider him like one of my closest friends and mentors. And I think that start, especially because I came from like a working class background, I never had anyone in my family working professional services.
No.
Like, I was navigating a whole new world, and I clearly had raw talent, but it needed someone to open doors and shape and, you know, offer that. And Michael Prescott did that, and I'll be forever grateful. And then the second person was someone I didn't work with a lot, but Wendy Clark, when
Of course, yeah.
she was global CEO at DDB, we had this amazing experience of pitching for Volkswagen in Berlin and Wolfsburg over a 6-month period. And it was my first, this would be back in like probably like 2017. And it was my first experience as a senior exec, like being exposed to the higher echelons of Omnicom. So John Wren was there, you know, Chuck Brymer, Andrew Robertson. I mean, it was the great and good
of
Omnicom, right?
Omnicom.
And it was, I'm someone who like learns, I learn a lot by osmosis in every part of my life. I like to watch like behaviors and what that instills in others and gets out of others. And what I saw over that 6-month period was Wendy was one of those people who was always in it with everybody. Like, she was there.
Yeah.
She was there until 2, 3 in the morning. She and she could give quite brutal feedback, but in a kind and uplifting and like motivational
Positive
way. To always push everyone to get better. And she also played the game. Like, I saw her in that mix of those almost exclusively senior men, and I judged it. I mean, I remember at the time judging it a little bit as a kind of like younger, kind of less experienced woman, thinking, God, why are you pandering to them?
She wasn't, was she?
No, she wasn't at all. No. She was like, it's a waste of my time to argue this because I'm going to get what I want anyway, because I'm going to be here doing the work, delivering the work, while you go off and have your whiskies and your cigars and your dinners and whatever else they did. And that 6 months was so, I mean, I made so many friends for life. Matt McNeely, as I said to you, I saw him this morning. He was one. Matt Mildenhall, Toby Schwartz, like so many like lifelong friendships were formed in that 6 months. But watching her as a female leader in a male-dominated world deliver outstanding work and be in it for our team, but still push like the standards, it was transformational for me. And I think of her every time I'm in a challenging situation. I like think, God, what would Wendy Clark do?
Channel my inner Wendy.
What would Wendy Clark do?
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us aboard the JC&Co yacht in Cannes.
Beautiful, isn't it?
It's not bad. We may hang around for a bit.
Yeah.
And tune in next time for 300 Seconds from Cannes.